said, hope for the best each window, expect the worst from these owners. Dans and Chiesa look promising. Well, yes, that's a really good point. And I want to talk about the Dans and Chiesa thing, because I want to pitch something to you guys. Have we got the real deal here? Because I think we have in Jayden Dans. You know, we're going to talk about Darwin Nunez tonight because Al Hilal over in Saudi Pro League are apparently very interested in signing him. They're looking to bring in a Neymar replacement, a superstar, and we'll talk about why it makes sense or why it potentially makes sense in a while. But the way I want to link it all together is, I could be overhyping young Dans here, but in my mind, I'm actually alright with him being that guy. At least starting in next season. Maybe this season we continue what we have, and if Dans gets opportunities, brilliant. It's up to the manager to decide if Jayden Dans should have a loan or not, and I'm sure they'll make the right decision on that one. But I genuinely think this kid is special, like really special. And if we did move Darwin on, I think it's not a bad idea to give this lad a shout next season, especially if the manager's going to be looking to utilise Diaz through the centre on occasion, Diogo Jota another option. I wouldn't be against it personally. Jamie Doyle, how are you, Jamie? Said, for Dan's goal today, did you see just how much sharper and alert he was compared to Darwin? It's like you took the words out of my mouth there, Jamie. Yeah, it was a great reaction because it came at him quickly. And we've seen a couple of these half chances this season fall to others, more senior players, and sometimes they've done well, sometimes they've skied them, but you're absolutely spot on, Jamie. The way he reacted to the keeper parrying that ball back out and side-footed it in, when it came at him quickly, I thought it was brilliant. I was really impressed with it. Now, granted, I only seen the highlights of the game, but very impressive stuff from Jayden Dans. Carl, how are you, my man? Said, hi, Craig. Dans is definitely making me giddy. Powerful, direct and full of confidence. Real Liverpool-style centre-forward. So, I'm glad you brought it up again, Carl, because I've been sitting here thinking, am I deluded? And a lot of people are probably going, yes, Craig, yes, you are. But on this one, I'm like you, mate. I'm wondering if we did move Darwin on, if we'd be all right keeping Dans around. You know, if Chiesa's going to get minutes and stay with the team, you've got more options then. We're kind of not spoiled in attack, but we've got a great front line with great options for the manager. Which is why the Kvaratskhelia stuff, whilst exciting, never really added up unless we were destined to lose somebody. Now, let me just tie all this together, I guess, Carl, and bring in the story that came out from Transfer Sector via Anfield Watch. And they say Al Hilal are giving serious consideration to signing Darwin Nunez. And then after that, Al Hilal's current manager is also Jorge Jesus, who's a huge fan of Nunez, having worked with him at Benfica. And under Jesus, Nunez scored 32 goals and registered 14 assists in just 66 games. So there's that relationship. There's the fact that Al Hilal need to bring in a player. It looks like Neymar's going to be off. They've given him something like €101 million for a total of 46 minutes of football and 2 games played. So they're looking for the high-profile superstar signing. And I've told you guys that from my understanding, there's a number that Liverpool will do business with for Darwin Nunez. But what I don't know is what Darwin Nunez and his family's thoughts would be on moving to the Saudi Pro League. I don't know the answer to that one. But from every other aspect, it feels like it's a plausible deal if it's open to Nunez and his family. Question I'm going to ask is, would you be okay if we sold Darwin but used Jayden Dans instead? Now look, for me, honestly, I'd rather start using Dan from the start of next season when he's had time to have a full pre-season under Arna. But the manager's been kind of fulsome in his praise of Dan's as well. So I think we could cope if he didn't go on loan, that is. You know, it's a tough one because if I can understand if Arne Slot and Jayden Dan's camp look at him and think he needs minutes now. It's important to get him back playing regularly. The window's open till 3rd of February, so maybe a late loan move in the window or something like that. And we would be leaving ourselves one position short up top, I guess. But I guess the question is, how much do you rate the loss of Darwin as a massive loss to the squad? And so I guess it's an individual answer for people. Why would you take the risk of not replacing Nunez when you're looking likely to win the title? I get the question is though, promoting Dan's through. So you're not really losing a number of players, if you get me. It's just the question of whether Dan's is ready to come in now. And I guess it also might be the numbers might make sense for the club. You know, I don't know what the market might be in the summer for Darwin. Look, it's not an open and shut question, and it's not a black and white one, and I'm not saying it's 100% the right thing to do this. It's just a conversation point, my man. Mohammed said, in my humble opinion, Slot needs to start trusting Chiesa, Danz and Endo so that he can rotate the team better, because he won't get the funds from the owners to get the players that he wants. How hurtful is that to write as a Liverpool fan, Mohammed? The last part, particularly, my man. Because he won't get the funds from the owners. And this is what makes my blood boil. Because you've got the Echo and many others trying to make out like you and I and anybody else that wants a signing are at the very other end of the spectrum, where we're absolutely just want to live a FIFA life and not live in reality and want hundreds of millions spent on players, when I don't know any Liverpool fan that thinks that way. But it's how we get painted. And how dare we want the club to even match the ambition of other clubs? You know, we've got Arteta cry arson that he hasn't got enough money to spend in the market after bringing in a 105 million quid midfielder, after bringing in Havertz, after bringing in Trossard, after spending all the money he did, bringing in Mikel Merino in the last one. And he's cry arson about it. And yet we're called ungrateful by the Echo and others for daring to ask why we haven't made proper signings in positions that we've gone through 3-4 windows needing them in, and why we are willing to walk a tightrope of the same mistakes happening that's happened in other seasons, where we ended up with Arthur Melo and we ended up with Ben Davies and Ozan Kabak and these other players that, let's be honest, everybody knew were not going to be good enough for Liverpool, but were cheap panic solutions. So you can't just keep undermining everybody and telling everybody else that we're wrong. It just becomes tiring, especially when they don't give you a solution. They just give you the undermining. DCP said, keep Darwin until the summer, need the rotation. And the absolute cheek, by the way, of Paul Gorst here, the absolute barefaced cheek of the man, saying to somebody else that you're, what was the words he said here? Let me just get this right. He said, to Anfield Edition, a really bad firm. A really bad firm. So he has the barefaced cheek to tell a fan account wanting the best for the club that they're a bad firm. Meanwhile, they can't put 2 paragraphs together on the professional Echo website with fully paid journalists, and he has the cheek to talk about others being a bad firm. They are disingenuous. They intentionally ignore some of the Liverpool fan base and channels like ours because we don't toe the line, and they have the cheek to speak to others about what's good and bad. Nah, sorry, bullshit. The days of newspapers and the likes of Paul Gorst and Ian Doyle telling everybody else what to do and getting on their moral high horse thinking they're better than the rest of us are fucking done. They're done. You don't have the power anymore. The power is with the people who want to have a voice, who want actual representation on what's going on and want to have a say. And if you don't think so, look at your dwindling numbers compared to everybody else's. Why might that be? Why are you resorting to clickbait, by the way? Earlier on as well, a big headline making it look like Steven Gerrard was sacked from Al Ettifaq. A big headline, only to find out it was an injury to a player. And you have the cheek to talk about others being a bad firm, when I would fire your ass and every one of the other journalists writing for the Echo tomorrow if I had the 20 quid to buy it off Reach Media. But I probably wouldn't get a return on that because it's gone so far downhill that there's no journalistic standard to it anymore. So don't dare think you get to sit behind your fucking keyboard on your cushy little job, getting little pats on the head from John, attending games and not having the backbone to speak for the people you represent, and then tell the rest of us what to do. Fuck you. Those days are over. Not happening. Craig, Darwin loves the fans, but not so sure the fans love him, but I can assure you he has my courage and respect. So let me phrase it a different way for you, James. To the fans that you think don't love Darwin, do you think that there might be a point as to him not being good enough? Because you've got Robbie Fowler, who I think has the respect of every single person here, coming out and saying that he's not a Liverpool striker and he's not good enough. I'll read it out to you. So, you know, you don't even have to listen to my words on it or other fans. Robbie Fowler, speaking about Darwin, said, we're saying the same things now for 2 or 3 years. He's raw, he's this, he's that. You can't keep saying that. For me, the more I see him, the more I think he's not a Liverpool player. People might have a go at me for saying that because he works hard. You're not signing a player because he works hard. That should be a prerequisite anyway. I think that's spot on from Robbie. And I know it wouldn't have been easy for him to say either, because we all want the best for Liverpool's number 9, whether it's Darwin, Nunez or anybody else. So I actually think fans have been, in the main, because there's always some that are just idiots. I think fans have been in the main understanding and hopeful about Darwin, but you can't just keep hoping. You know, it's not one season or one and a, like, it's 2.5 years. I think people have a right now to say this might not have worked out. And again, that's okay. Right, so let's check in on the poll. I asked you, would you be okay if we sold Darwin but used Jayden Danns instead? Now look, of course, with any of these type of polls, you always have to understand as well, they're sometimes tilted because Jayden Danns scored a great goal today, or Darwin isn't in good form, and maybe people are feeling optimistic. So it's by no means an accurate reflection of reality, but it just gives us a snapshot of where people's heads are at a particular time. And right now, with, are we there? Yeah, 1,500 votes cast, 70% of the people that voted said yes, they would be happy if Jayden Danns was promoted through if Darwin moved on.